take a look at this. It's the Sometimes vlog. It's a vlog that happens sometimes, and sometimes it happens here at the weirdest thing we've looked at in a while. The pyramid. Welcome everyone to Rockland, California, USA. Rockland is a heck of a nice town. Very nice. I just passed through all kinds of crazy suburban homes. It's a satellite town perched a little ways away from Sacramento, California, the capital of California. And when I say a satellite community, this is a bedroom community for apparently all the millionaires who live nearby. These are very nice homes, the kinds of homes that, not us, right buddy? And I drove through this crazy neighborhood onto this golf course. I don't know if you can see, but just back beyond there are millionaires playing golf on a golf course. And in the center of it is this pyramid here. A man by the name of Joel Parker, as he was known, Parker Whitney, used to own all of, oh man, Whitney owned all of this. Used to be farmland as far as the eye can see. This was his ranch. He owned a lot of mining stock in Colorado and other places, and he built this area of natural boulders in this stone circle called the fort. When he built it, his children were very young, so maybe it was a play area for his kids. I'm talking about the mid-19th century, he was born in 1833, so 1860s, 70s, 80s, somewhere in there. Well, his home, which was about a half a mile away from here, is now long gone. A huge mansion. The guy owned mines. He was rich. He was the true Mr. Dapper. He chose to be buried on his ranch property here in the center of the fort, inside of this stone pyramid. So this is not only a really cool and creepy monument, but also a piece of history, but also a grave. We have to pay our respects to Mr. What did I just say his name was? Mr. Whitney. Mr. Whitney, you have a very nice grave here. I have a very terrible hat here. I'm going to cover it up before it offends the planet. But look at this. This stone pyramid here, 15-foot high-ish stone pyramid, marks the grave of one of the pioneers of this area, Mr. Joel Parker Whitney. Parker, as he was known at the time. Isn't that weird when you die, your middle name that you may have used in real life becomes inconsequential. You'll never be known by your middle name. You'll always be known by your first name. Ooh, step in the right bush. Even though you never used it in real life. So, as you can see here, this is beautiful, beautiful wintry morning out in Northern California, Central California, really, geographically speaking, outside Sacramento. There's all kinds of huge mansions and people playing golf over here, scoffing at my 5-year-old Mustang as I drive up through the neighborhood. It's a really, really nice town. The kind of town that's so nice and so squeaky clean looking at it from the outside that you feel a little bit uncomfortable. But look at this. There's a weird and freaky pyramid of wonder here that's just amazing looking. Like this is like something out of a movie about Ireland or something. I'm expecting druids any second. The thing that's crazy about this pyramid is, why would he be buried in a pyramid? Well, at the time, there was something called pyramidism or pyramidalism happening, where in the mid-1800s, it was part of the spiritualism thing. This is when the toe wrapping and all that kind of stuff happened, and seances and all that stuff were becoming in vogue, and people didn't know. Science was just starting to make headway. Like, science was just starting to enter the lives of daily people. But as a result, there was also lots of spurious science, like hucksters and people coming around, like snake oil salesmen, like selling junk science. And part of that was spiritualism, that there was all kinds of crazy religious movements from the 1810s all the way up to, basically the 1910s. For about 100 years, there was just everybody would come up with different spiritual stuff, ectoplasm and seances and all that. And part of that, in the new fields of archaeology, part of that was pyramidalism. I'm probably getting that word wrong. There's probably a better way to say that. But basically, people were like looking into the wisdom of the ancients. This is the time when like Atlantis theories were popping up. There must have been an ancient continent and ancient technology, because we were discovering steam power and all this stuff. We thought ancient people must have had this to build pyramids and things, and maybe there was resonating frequencies that gave them powers and views into the beyond and the afterlife, and maybe it could assure your reincarnation. And we didn't really understand that much about ancient Egypt or anything else, but pyramids were very exciting. So it could be possible that Mr. Whitney was caught up in that, or it could have been just a trendy, cool design at the time, very sort of like futuristic and like all kinds of craziness and stuff. But there you go, Mr. Whitney's tomb here. For all we know, I mean, as far as we know, he is still inside of here Mr. Whitney? Hey, you never know. I would be so terrified if something knocked back, but at least we would have all experienced it together. I'm actually a double freaked out because I'm being super chill because it's freaking cold, number one. I'm really tired. I got this morning checked out of a hotel. Allie and I got back from San Francisco the other night, and just crashed for a while. Got up really early before checkout and came out here. But also because I'm surrounded by these crazy 3-4 story homes, millionaire looking homes that would not look out of place in like the really nice parts of Bel Air and Beverly Hills. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna get yelled at. I actually live next to a public golf course, and whenever you'd screw around or there'd be any shenanigans on that public golf course in Anaheim, which is a cheapo $5 public golf course, you'd still get yelled at. So I'm familiar with golfers, and they're like, hey, what are you doing walking around, and there are no shenanigans. This is a historical monument, and it is sort of right next to a park called Monument Park. The gates are all open, so I'm not 100% sure I'm not allowed to be here, but it's dicey enough that I'm being chill. But anyway, look at this. What am I talking about? Why am I giving you a 20-minute description of that? What I should be showing you, this weird pyramid. The other reason I'm being kind of chill is because this is a man's grave, and I always think like, oh, it's so funny, the mystery of the pyramid, and it is funny. And listen, I'm sure that Parker here, Mr. Whitney, doesn't mind the odd joke. I mean, he buried himself in a pyramid in his children's play fort. He built a fort for his kids out of awesome boulders and rocks, and supposedly in some of these rocks, I haven't found it, supposedly there are grooves from stone pestles, like from mashing acorns from the Native Americans, that they would use these on some of these boulders that you can find, like not petroglyphs, but like carved out little areas where they would grind up acorns to make acorn flour. So this is all natural. Like literally, he owned all this farmland as far as I can see. Mr. Whitney had a massive, massive ranch. He invested in mines in Colorado, so he was a pioneer of this whole area of California next to Roseville, Rockland, this whole area outside of Sacramento. So he was one of the founding fathers, you could say, of there. Look at this creepy pyramid. I really want to get buried in something like this. I always thought I just want a big tombstone, you know. Southern California, we don't have a lot of tombstones. We have a lot of flat ones. We just mow over it. We don't have a lot of graveyards, period. But I always was like, man, I want one of those cool tombstones, like in an old creepy cemetery. And now, though, that I've seen this, I might want a pyramid. The mystery of the pyramid, shining into the future. Bury me with magical sauce. I'm not being disrespectful to the man who's buried here. I actually have much respect for the guy. I mean, he built an empire here and then buried himself on it, which is pretty awesome. But clearly, though, this is what really weirded me out. Not only is there a pyramid here, which is a little bit, spiritualistic and kind of weird when you walk up. Listen, let's walk out here for a second. I'm going to go back a little farther outside of the stone fort. I came in through the gate there. There's a little plaque talking a little bit about this, but like, let's look at the approach. Let's look at the approach to this here, right? You walk up this, like, it literally does look like a little stone fort, and then you see this. I mean, this right here is what we're dealing with. It's funny, it's weird for sure, but when you walk up on this, you're a little bit like, what? You know? What's happening here? There's a man buried in there. A man is buried in there. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. It's freaky to walk up on these places. And it's cold, and there's a lot of moss on these stones. We're sort of in the foothills of the Sierras, and it's just like a weird vibe, a weird like horror movie, almost not even a horror movie, but like a ghostly type of vibe. This is exactly the kind of daylight hour I would expect to see a ghost in, or like an Irish banshee or the King of the Fairies. But the other thing that weirded me out right away, right before I started the vlog, I noticed this. And you might have been noticing this if you're sharp-eyed, peeking around in the background when I started this. I noticed this. What the heck is going on here? Now, clearly, as viewed from the toilet paper, which is kind of gross, and the cigarette butts here, clearly this is a place, and I was thinking this when I walked up too, when I was worried about getting in trouble just for being here. This is clearly the type of place that wayward teens and crazy people come out. Let's go out to the pyramid and get crazy. Let's do some crazy sauce and talk about the universe, man. Then we'll make sweet, sweet love. Like, this is one of those places. This is one of those places where teens come and talk about the devil, right? And then you think, but it's harmless teenager stuff, and then they grow out of it. Don't worry, our harmless, adolescents. And then you see this. That is so creepy. Like, if nothing else, that is a freaking metal cross upside down, nailed to a tree. It's nailed to the tree. No one came out and duct taped it really quick. Somebody bought a freaking hammer and nails and bent the cross to the tree to make sure that it would stay there, and apparently nobody has removed it. Now, once a year, apparently the members of the Whitney family come out here. I love saying Whitney, it's really fun. Come out here and maintain this place and have a meet up here, and it's really, really cool and all that. And I don't know that this has been here for a whole year. It doesn't look rusty enough or anything to have been here for a whole year. Is it metal? Yeah, it's metal. It's like really cheap, flimsy metal, but it's metal. And but apparently other people have come out here too. Unless the Whitney family is really into some way weirder stuff than I thought just from the pyramid alone. This is weird. Okay, look at this creepy spot. Creepy enough as it is. And then somebody came and did this. Who did this? Who did this? So that weirded me the heck out. And just look at it. Is this not the creepiest, one of the creepiest places now that we've ever been on the sunrise? There's a big old fallen tree here, looking all creepy. Everything's dead. The leaves are all dead. And there's a freaking metal upside down cross nailed to a tree. What the heck? I want to take it off, but then I feel like I'll get in even more trouble for taking it off than leaving it on there. I don't want to mess with any bad juju, but I feel like it's bad juju to see this and leave it there. Like, I'm not that superstitious, but I'm superstitious enough that I'm like, oh, this is probably not a good thing anywhere. Like, let's say some of you aren't religious at all, right? And I don't want to make this a religious thing, but some of you aren't religious at all. But even you would be like, oh, come on, that's in poor taste to come out and do that, especially next to a guy's grave. So that part makes me want to take it off. But then I think, well, maybe this is, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Whitney wanted it that way. What? You're so weird. Why? Or maybe he doesn't want it this way. I don't know. All I know is it did throw me a little bit because there's the whole horror movie vibe, and then that. I tried to get it off the truth of stick. You saw I tried. I tried to fight Satan, but I couldn't do it on my own. You need tools, a jackhammer or a hammer and nails, and it's on that destroyed tree. Now, here's the real question, okay? We'll get back to the pyramid in a second. Here's the real question. Did the tree get destroyed first, and then somebody put the cross upside down on the creepy tree? Or did someone put the cross upside down on the creepy tree, and then shabamsy! Destruction. What happened here? What happened here? But see, in another way, though, if we turn our frown upside down, it could be a nice thing. Wow, that was sickening. Oh, for a second, I was backing up for a second because I was looking at it like just to make sure this wasn't a broken part of the tree. Maybe it was a right side up cross and it fell. Anyway, that right there, guys, you don't want to mess with that. I don't know what it does or what mystical powers that someone thinks that has, but it probably does nothing. But still, moving on. Look at this thing. So that's right out here in Rocklin, Rocklin, California. The stone.
Hey guys. We are looking at a pyramid in Pennsylvania that was built by a secret society called Rosicrucian, and in this video I will show you the inside of the pyramid and some really bizarre details. There are widespread rumors that this pyramid is a portal to another world, and by the end of this video you can decide for yourself if that's the case. From the street, you can see the pyramid, and it seems like a nice structure to look at, and it has another beautiful pyramid-shaped fountain nearby. But when you go to another side of the pyramid, you can see the gateway to the inside. At this point, I was still feeling pretty good because this pyramid is a part of the Rosicrucian church, and churches are normally safe places to hang out. But as I went near it, I saw this sign on top of the gate. It has a skull with 2 bones below it, which is clearly a symbol of danger. And it is sitting on top of the globe with wings, and below it you can see the word try, as though it is daring you to step inside the pyramid. As soon as I saw this, my attitude instantly changed and I was spooked, because you don't expect to see something like this inside church premises. Notice that there is an anchor on the left symbolizing underworld, because anchors always go down, and the torch on the right symbolizing higher world, because flames always go up. Now, this is what you see inside the pyramid. You can see a very small room, probably about 3 feet wide and 5 feet long. But can you tell what is really weird about this room? If you want, you can pause the video and try to find out the secret that is right in front of you. If you're not distracted by the plaques hanging on the wall, you will notice the screws on the walls. Have you ever seen screws on marble tiles? These screws are holding the tiles of this fake wall, and if you remove them, there would be a much larger chamber inside. There should be no other reason to have these screws on the walls. This is confirmed when you take another look at the entire pyramid. The pyramid is about 50 feet wide on all 4 sides and about 30 feet tall. There is no reason to build such a large pyramid to have a room that is only 3 feet wide. The secret chamber that is behind this wall could be easily over 40 feet wide and may even have multiple levels. This is further reinforced by this plaque hanging on the fake wall. Notice how it shows the pyramid with an oval-shaped chamber that is as tall as the pyramid itself. If you look carefully, you can see 2 levels in the chamber. I apologize for not taking a better picture because I panicked after seeing the skull symbol and wanted to get out without getting into trouble. On the first level of the chamber, you can see a strange figure that does not look human at all, and on the next level there is an empty room with a circular opening carved on it. There is also something carved under the pyramid, so it is possible that there is an underground area as well. Let's take a look at the other signs hanging on the fake wall. On the bottom of this plaque, it says Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is Latin for New Order of the Ages, or more popularly called the New World Order. Above this is a pyramid with a broken top replaced by an eye that is watching you. On the top, we can see the phrase Annuit Septis, which means he approves of the undertakings. This is a very mysterious phrase because we don't really know who approves of the undertakings. If you want to get a better look at this sign, just open your wallet and pull out a dollar bill. This is the exact sign that you will find on the dollar bill, and many people say the dollar bill itself was created by the Illuminati to create a new world order. The other plaque has an eagle that is also found on the dollar bill. These pyramids belong to a secret society called Rosicrucian, founded in 1420, so they've been operating for about 600 years now. These pyramids are estimated to be more than 200 years old, and locals believe that these are portals or wormholes to contact otherworld beings. Of course, the members of Rosicrucian are sworn to secrecy, so they never talk about the pyramids to anybody. Now, this is not the only pyramid here, and there are at least 3 more pyramids in the same area. The other pyramids could have the missing pieces to the puzzle. For example, the other pyramids would have other words that would finish the sentence that starts with try. And there must be different plaques inside the other pyramids that would also point to something very substantial. By the way, I don't recommend that you visit this place because I think it is very dangerous. I myself got incredibly lucky that nobody saw me, and I went in there with a naive sense of security, expecting to see Jesus on a cross and not to see a skull ruling over planet Earth. My friend lives in Philly, and he told me that he knew a friend who entered this very pyramid and nobody ever saw him again. Of course, I dismissed it as crap, but he was so emphatic that I had to check it out for myself. So I stopped by to debunk this myth, but I think I believe it now after seeing all this. I hope you like this video. I'm finding a lot of intriguing stuff like this, so please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and talk to you soon. Hey guys, I was flying my quadcopter above Georgia Guidestones and found these crazy stains that look like blood. Very intriguing to watch because you don't see any stains from the ground at all. These stones look completely normal from the ground level, but from the top you can see a big splash of this. I don't know what you can make of it, but it does look like blood. A while ago, a pastor of a local church warned that the Guidestones would lead to blood sacrifices on the spot where they stood. He was making the point this monument is some kind of an occult symbol used for pagan rituals. At the Georgia Guidestones, they don't celebrate Christian festivals like Christmas or Easter, but you can see celebrations on solstices and equinoxes and solar and lunar eclipse, which are celebrated by pagans all around the world. This is not a coincidence because the stones have slots that specifically mark solar events. For example, you can see the rising sun exactly on solstices and equinoxes through the slot cut in the center pillar. In many ancient cultures, these natural events are also celebrated with animal sacrifice, and historically, there have even been human sacrifices. For example, the Mayas would rip the hearts out of other human beings on solar eclipse from the top of a pyramid. The blood would flow from the top of the pyramid, which was supposed to appease the gods. There are lots of rumors about blood sacrifice and similar rituals among secret societies like the Illuminati and Skull and Bones. Apparently, these groups like to sacrifice animals and human beings to gain social and political advantage. The Georgia Guidestones monument clearly shows it is fundamentally based on ancient pagan cultures. You can see writings in Egyptian hieroglyphs and Babylonian cuneiform, which have documented cases of blood sacrifice. Now, could this be a case of vandalism? Did somebody just throw a cup of, say, chicken blood from the ground? It is kind of impossible to do that because these stones are about 20 feet tall. If you throw a cup of blood from the ground, it would splatter all over the place. If you observe the pattern closely, this liquid started flowing directly from the top to the pillar on the front left. What's more interesting, the front left pillar is where a smaller stone block with an inscription 2014 was inserted. It created a big controversy, and later on that block was removed, and you can see the empty slot here. Anyway, if this is a case of vandalism, you would need a ladder to go up top and throw some blood. But you cannot do that because you are being watched by the police 24/7, and you can see the surveillance camera here. So this would have been some kind of a planned ritual that happened on top of the capstone, and whatever happened must have happened recently, because if this was done a while ago, I imagine the blood would have been washed off by rain. We all know Georgia Guidestones are very mysterious. We don't even know the real name of the person who built it. We know it was built by a secret society called Rosicrucians, and they tend to construct these strange structures all over the world. In Pennsylvania, they've constructed pyramids with strange symbols and writings. Why do we see these weird structures built in different states, and what is the ultimate goal of these secret societies? So, what do you think? Is this blood we see on top of Georgia Guidestones? If not, what is it? Please let me know in the comment section. I'm Praveen Mohan. Thank you for watching, and talk to you soon.
Hey you guys, it's in the stars, and I believe that our pentagram is complete. Now, for the majority of these red lines, you need to look at my previous video on how we established those lines. The only line in question was this red line here to complete the pentagram. Now, I'm going to show you how I arrived at this line. First, you're going to see other lines in this video, and we have some shocking information. We were able to get the 322 degree line by lining up the guide stones at the Georgia Guidestones. But what I didn't do is line up the stones going in the other direction. And what I found was simply unbelievable. Let's take a look so you can see for yourself. These are the Georgia Guidestones. And the red line that you see is the line that actually connects the stones going in the 322 degree direction. We covered that on the previous video, so I'm not going to go over it again. But then we had lines or stones going in another direction. And this is what I found. These lines line up at exactly 33 degrees. So if anyone had any questions about the authenticity of the information that we're uncovering at this point, this should put all questions to rest. 322 degrees in one direction and 33 degrees in the other direction. Two very important symbolic numbers used by the Illuminati. Okay, on to the next thing. We're going to zoom out now that you've got your bearings. We're going to take a look at these other lines. So I extended the 33 degree line all the way around the globe. And honestly, I could not find any points of interest other than the fact that they're calling out the 33 degrees. Okay, I ran this all the way around the planet. Now, you're probably wondering what this pink line is. This pink line, I took the apex of the Great Pyramid in Egypt and I ran it at 322 degrees all the way around the planet, or halfway around the planet. and this is where it pointed to. That pin is Roswell, New Mexico. Now, I'm still trying to get the exact coordinates of Roswell and the UFO crash, and I believe it is a little closer to this line than the pin mark shows. The pin mark is the city of Roswell. So I don't know if the UFO crash happened to the east of Roswell, the city, or not. And hopefully some of the subscribers here can help out with that. Now, we've identified all but the yellow line in this picture. I'm going to tell you how I got the yellow line. This point here is the Denver International Airport. When you draw a line 111 degrees, it intersects the 322 line of the GUIDESTONES at this point here. So all I did with this line that's coming out from the bottom is I used this point, and this line ended up being exactly 90 degrees on the compass. It goes near Roswell. It actually also goes near all these points here. Waco, Texas, JFK assassination, Fort Hood shooting. We're talking within 60 miles, 50 to 60 miles of these points. Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Frederick, 1979, the BP oil spill. Okay, but this is the destination, San Onofre Power Plant. And as you can see, Hoover Dam really doesn't intersect with any of these lines. So I'm having trouble with some of the predictions that have come out to this point about Hoover Dam. San Onofre, we're looking at, let's take a look at the measurement here. About 20 miles, 17 to 20 miles from this line. Remember, that was a 90-degree angle from the 111 degrees that we found from the Denver International Airport. So, this may be the last line of the pentagram. I don't know, unless there's other information that we come up with. But this is what we have, you guys. It almost appears as though the apex is here in Washington, D.C. Where these two lines intersect, the two red lines, that is Washington, D.C. And remember, this line is the line formed from the Capitol building to the National Monument. The giant obelisk forms a perfect line across, which is the top bar of the pentagram. So hopefully that's not too confusing, you guys, but I think we've identified some pretty significant ley lines here that will help us in our search for truth. And I appreciate all feedback that I get. Take care and be safe, you guys.
Now that's interesting. That is a really cool mausoleum. He apparently intended his family to be buried in here with him. So I don't know if he's in the center or if he's over here chilling on one of the sides. But it's made all out of stone. It appears to be the same type of stone laying around here on his property. But this is really cool all by itself. Just this stone fort that was built out here. Because you got to figure, this is getting over 100 years old. Let's say 150 years old. It's almost a sesquicentennial probably of this stone fort area. There's honestly not that much vandalism here. Like a little splash of graffiti here and there. But overall, this is looking pretty amazing for a man's grave been here. I think he died in like 1910-ish, somewhere around there. So this has been here for over 100 years, and it's still like chilling. And it's right in the middle of this neighborhood. Now, oh here, look. Here we go. Here's the remnants of where the Native Americans used to grind acorns into flour. So here we're seeing, I can't remember the name of the tribe, but here we're seeing layers of history. So we're seeing a place where long before even Whitney was here with his mining millions, building mansions, long before that, Native Americans would come to this spot and sit on these huge boulders littered all throughout this little hilly area. Sit on these huge granite boulders, and probably a bunch of women folk and kids and everybody will be hanging out here, kids playing, animals, I'm assuming. Oh, look, there's some kind of birds or quail over there. And they'd be grinding acorns into flour. Then you have to soak them in water to remove the tannins, is that what it's called? The bad bitter stuff in the acorns. And then using that flour to bake like different kinds of stuff, bread, different kinds of things. I don't understand 100% what Native Americans ate, but I'm very interested in all this stuff. I just don't have a lot of Native American friends that know that I can hang out with. I wish I had a guide right now. But that is very cool. And then you can see beyond this, but this must have been a favorite spot of the ranch, even though it's about a half a mile. It's kind of far from where Mr. Whitney's mansion was. He and his family obviously used to come out here, and the children would play in this stone circle that he created, sort of this natural little dell here. Around these boulders, they created this stone circle known as the fort. So children used to play in here in the 1800s, which is already like very weird, creepy. I mean, creepy in like a The Others, kind of like a ghost movie kind of way. And then on top of that, you see the remnants of a civilization, which is, even though they're probably surviving members of lots of different tribes in California, and California does have kind of a better track record than some places with natives and stuff like that. But you're seeing the remnants of a forgotten civilization. Being put on reservations, let's just get serious for a second, not to be political, but being put on reservations and into missions and having your life completely interrupted by the gold rush and wars and subsequent, you know, basically invasion of all kinds of people from all over the world, not just white people, but Chinese people and Hispanic people and all that kind of stuff. Like you're seeing cases of not just a lost civilization, not necessarily a lost people every time, but definitely a lost way of life. You don't see people grinding up acorns out on boulders anymore to make bread. And this, or flour. And this is really, really cool. You see a piece of this lost civilization, and then a piece of this lost civilization here. The old pioneering millionaire ranchers of California who built this state kind of into the empire it is now. And then his giant tracts of land and opportunity and hundreds of acres and all that now turned into, even though this is a very 1%er rich area right here, you can still see like all the homes packed in here, and it's very suburban. So there's some little smaller homes over here that look like something that could be in Moreno Valley or something like that, like just really small little suburban homes. This is obviously on the back of the golf course right here, and in true Mr. Whitney style, there's some serious money surrounding where I'm standing. Also some serious squirrels and like little scrubby animals, and this is really cool. It's a really awesome spot. But I just love this. I love the layers of history, and I love coming out here. I was only here for about 30 seconds before I started the vlog, so not very long. You've been here pretty much the whole time I am. So you're watching me live trip out on the layers of history here, like a forgotten, bygone way of life. And then this bygone way of life. Just that playground of, you know, limitless land and limitless opportunity, and you made your fortune out west and then came even farther out west and built this place, and your children roamed and wandered and played. It must be a trip, if you're part of that family, to come back here for your meetups or your memorials and think like, oh, grandpa's buried in there, and this is where, you know, great-great-great-great-grandpa's buried here, and great-great-grandpa used to play here around his knees and have a campfire and sing along. I don't know what they did. Play croquet, something rich, and trip out. And even too, just the fact that this is sort of an artifact of 19th century spiritualism, even if, we don't know, Mr. Whitney could have been a Baptist for all we know, but just the fact that it's sort of a leftover from that type of thing. Now, there's a theory out there that because Whitney had gone out and to display some kind of mining technology, or I forget what, at one of the world exhibitions, kind of a world fair type of deal, like in Chicago or somewhere like that, that he had seen pyramids that they had discovered, like, in Egypt, and they had brought models to display them, and that was a big deal at the time, the 1800s. Pyramids were a big deal. Egyptology was a big deal. You know, they were just starting to try to decipher hieroglyphics and do all this crazy stuff. So it was very, very, at the same time that it was ancient and mysterious and kind of universe and hippie-ish, at the same time it was very, almost futuristic in a way, to be into Egyptian stuff, to harness the power of the pyramids, to think about Atlantis and reaching from the beyond. So we don't know necessarily that he was into that. What we do know, though, is that this here was part of that whole movement. Just the design even was of, like, you know, people getting buried in pyramids. You don't see a lot of, like, you know, graves in England in the 1500s shaped like pyramids. So it's kind of representative of that time. Anyway, I'm glad you came to trip out with me on this pyramid. I didn't know if I was going to be able to see it, so this was about an hour to get here, invested, and I'm glad we got to see it. I'm glad no golfers so far have called security or the cops. I would assume that we're allowed to be here. The fence here, the fence here isn't exactly wide open, but it's open enough that you could step through it, and there's a chain around the base of it, and clearly it's left like that on purpose so that people can get through, but it's obviously like, hey, if you do anything bad here, you know, this is one of those places where you know if you did something bad, right? You know, if I was out here with a hammer chipping off a piece of this pyramid, they would also slap a trespassing charge on you, like, you stepped through our open gate, trespassing. But if you just come out here and look and appreciate and admire, no one would ever do that. They would just go, okay, there you are, having a good time. It's one of those little dicey situations. The gate is open, cause no harm, leave only footprints, take only memories, blah, 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 blah. And I think you're actually allowed to be out here. But it's one of those things where I just get tripped out because I'm by myself. You ever go anywhere by yourself and see a creepy grave surrounded by old ancient stones that Native Americans used to use, also surrounded by millionaires' homes with golfers staring at you? No? You haven't? Well, I do this more often than I would like to admit that I do it, but look at this craziness. Let me tell you, when you do it, it's just a little unnerving. You ever been somewhere like that, to like a really nice store or someone's grandma's house with plastic on their furniture, or a really rich neighborhood, or just somewhere where you're totally uncomfortable, or conversely, for some people, I guess a really poor neighborhood, or a neighborhood of different ethnicity, anywhere where it's different enough from home that you're kind of going, oh, I feel uncomfortable, like this isn't my thing. That's kind of how I felt in France some of the time, like, hey, look, Champs-Élysées, it's very uncomfortable, it's crazy. Let's just stick this camera right here for a second. Feels uncomfortable, you know? I should have brought some magical soap, but my magical soap is in the car, which is about, I don't know, a quarter mile from here. Dang it. I should have brought you some magical soap, Mr. Whitney. I don't know if it could have cured what ailed him if he had used it at the time, probably. Now I think I don't know much about the afterlife because I've never been there, but I'm assuming now it wouldn't help much. However, anyways, in all seriousness, I don't think that the dead, I know I certainly, when I were dead, mind the living being around. I think that's kind of the point, isn't it? To put a monument there and say, hey, I was here, remember me. So I think that Mr. Whitney probably doesn't mind our little intrusion upon his privacy here in Rockland, California, or paying a visit, but I always do like to doff my hat and pay my respects, you know, just in case. We all like to think that our deceased grandparents and such can hear us, right? Even people I know who are very, very opposite of religious, very anti-religious, not that anti-religious, but, you know, just not very spiritual in any sense of the word, very practical, when you die, that's it kind of people. Still like to think that, you know, when you remember your family or your loved ones around the holidays, they might be able to hear you, or they go to a grave and talk, even if it's just therapeutic and stuff. So I always like to show a certain amount of proper respect, because like I said, never been to the afterlife. I don't know much about it, never been there, and I want to make sure my T's are crossed and I's are dotted and pay proper respect, even in a totally secular sense, to the people that went before you and made this life of ours possible, you know. So weird. Who does that? I mean, and then you gotta wonder, did somebody do that, like, sincerely to freaking wig me out? Like, me and the royal me. Or did somebody do that just to be funny? Is that funny? Is that funny? It's not funny. That's weird. I don't even know what's weirder, honestly. We could have just done a whole vlog in a forest. If I had just come across that in the woods, I probably would have just... Anyway, okay. We did it. We visited a stone pyramid, a grave of an early California pioneer. My hands are totally numb. It's in the very, very low 40s, high 30s out here in Northern California. And let's take a fun pic with it. Fun pic. Fun pic. Wow. Wow. Anyway, this year I found out, I looked into going to Egypt. This is going to sound weird, but I looked into going to Egypt as I saw these really, really cheap discount flights one day for like $400 to go to Egypt. Not even kidding, from LAX. And yes, there's a lot of political instability and all that kind of stuff there. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool to go climb one of the Great Pyramids? And I found out you're actually not allowed to climb on the Great Pyramid anymore. Even though Mark Twain and all his homies back in the day did it, you are not allowed to climb the Great Pyramid in Egypt, or any pyramid, I don't think. And I was really disappointed by that, because that was sort of a bucket list thing for me, that I wanted to climb a pyramid. I was hoping when I came here that this would be climbable, but I don't think so. I don't think that's climbable for me anyways. And on top of that, once you're actually here looking at it, it's like, oh, that's the guy's grave. Now, as much as I'd want people to visit my grave, and I would be okay with people dancing around and making jokes, I'm not 100% sure I want people climbing on my grave, especially when it was made of brittle old granite stone that could be damaged in some way by the climbing. So I will not be climbing this pyramid. Not today, anyways. Now, if I had permission from the family, I might. If the fam gave me permission, was like, bro, you can climb up on Grandpa's pyramid. Grandpa would have wanted it this way. I would be super down. Because at some point, I just want to climb a pyramid. Okay, if I can't climb the Great Pyramid, I just want to climb a pyramid. Anyway, there you go. Rockland's Stonehenge there. And its crowning jewel, the tomb of Mr. Here he is here. Joel Parker Whitney, 1835 to 1913. So I was pretty close on the dates there. 1835 to 1913. Here's a photo of Mr. Whitney. I don't know if we can... Ooh, my hat shadow will help you see the photo, perhaps. See, there's his face here. There's Mr. Whitney. So there are photographs of him. Apparently he was invested in the Crescent Mining Company and Early Bird Navel Oranges, the Woodpecker brand, from the Whitney Estates orange groves. I did not know that you could grow oranges up this far north. How about this? We got a picture of him here playing croquet, I think, or golf with the family. Okay, he's playing golf with his family. So Mr. Whitney, a golfer. So kind of apropos then, a little stone culvert here, which I don't know what that has to do with this. And here's a map here of Monument Park and where his home site was, which is on the corner of St. Andrews and Mountain Gate. So a lot of history. This whole basically rich area of Rockland over here, near Monument Park. This was all part of a massive estate. Oh, look, he was invested in California Raisin Company, Rockland, California, Whitney brand. Wait a minute. You don't think Mr. Whitney invented the California raisins, do you? Also, I want to point this out. Donated by the 3rd graders of Rockland School District, and then underneath it says Mr. and Mrs. Jack Bowers. Jack Bauer. California raisins. Jack Bauer. A pyramid and an upside down cross. I don't think I'm smart enough to put it together, but it really seems like there's the pieces of one heck of an internet conspiracy going on here. Mr. Whitney was at the center of it all. There's some sort of Da Vinci Code here. The California Da Vinci Code. Starring Jack Bauer and Mr. Whitney. Very cool. Very, very cool. Very interesting. I would love to meet someone from the Whitney family, or hear from you if you've ever known anything about Mr. Whitney or this area of Rockland. Have you ever been out here? Have any of you? I always am surprised how many of the weirdest places that I can find, and I go out and like the farthest, weirdest ones are the ones where I get the comments like, that was my grandpa. I lived right down the street my whole life. I go there all the time. My high school marching band used to practice at that pyramid. Like, I hear all kinds of weird stories from the weird ones, the ones that I didn't think anybody would have ever heard of. And then I'll go to some part of Disneyland where millions of people visit every year, and people will go, I've never seen that before. So that's like, you know, very surprising all the time. Who has and hasn't been here? Anyway, in Northern California, I don't know for how much longer. I do have to end up eventually go home and sleep well. I could buy more socks at Target probably, but I only have so much underwear with me, and I better go home. So I'm just trying to remember which way I came from. Let's head on. Goodbye, Mr. Whitney. Thank you for letting us interrupt your slumber. Hello, Mr. Raccoon. You hear all these creepy sounds? Like, it's like the Blair Witch out here. If the Blair Witch Forest had been... You hear that? If the Blair Witch Forest had been surrounded by mansions, this would pretty much be an exact replica. Okay, guys. Live Fast, Die Poor at Spreadshirt.com, Patreon.com/JustinScott if you want to help keep food in my stomach, gas in my tank, and, you know, keep the visits to all these kind of strange places going. See what I mean? When I was walking down here, I was like, oh man, this seems like totally the kind of thing where someone would be in their backyard like, what are you doing down there, boy? I don't know why they would be talking like that here, but there you go. So back I go into the back of Monument Park here, through this hole in the barbed wire. And it's not a hole, it's a fence, it's open on purpose, but this trail. Which, okay, let's talk about this for a split second. I know it's a total diversion, or digression, excuse me. But you see this is a barbed wire fence separating the park, technically, from the golf course, technically. Yet, there is a wide path here with an open chain, and it's just open for everyone to walk. That's what I'm saying. So you can get this technical thing, but I like it. But it's open for the public to use. So I think you can come visit. If you park at Monument Park and just walk all the way to the back, there you go. You sort of walk around, and it's straight back, but you kind of have to do this little jag around to the right. And it's back there, kind of fenced off unto itself, but accessible for visitors. So pretty cool. Come visit the pyramid. If you have a crowbar and you want to take it on yourself to remove the bad juju, upside down creepiness, go ahead. I couldn't fight evil all on my own, but maybe together we can win the day. All right, so off I go. Live Fast, Die Poor at Twitch.com. Live Fast, Die Poor on Instagram. Live Fast, Die Poor on Snapchat. Justin Scott on Twitter. And sometimes Periscope. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.
What's up, guys? Brother Christopher with the heads, not the tails. Even more interesting, the founder of Jehovah's Witness name was Charles Taze Russell, and his gravestone is a pyramid. Look at this, risen with Christ. Right. You even have a Holy Bible engraved on the pyramid with the capstone. And there's that symbol right there, once again, that cross with the banner. And I forgot what, it was a video I was watching about that symbol right there. Jesuit symbol, maybe? Crazy. But these things are everywhere.